So tell me, so as far as so the competition, it does matter outside your region. It does matter. Which I mean, when you played AAU as well,
Sure.
it does matter. It's a big deal. I know that you was in the AAU scene. You know how it is. It's probably I wouldn't say it was really so much such bad in my part. I've seen bad things, but I mean I understand that it's needed. It just tell me this though. I will want to ask you. So as far as with AAU regular season, why is there such a shift? It's weird. It's like it's like a player that can go be outstanding AAU, they come back and kind of struggle sometimes when it comes to an organized or I mean not that AAU but organized type of team. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I would just say like kind of AAU is kind of more like freelance. You really don't have that much as pressure. That's what athletes I would feel like they would say they don't have as much pressure. They kind of got a little bit more freedom. The coach believes in them a little bit more. So I would just say that. I wouldn't say it was probably just talent both in the AAU and high school, but they probably just have a little bit more freedom and confidence.
But for you, was it which one?
Honestly, I would think it was opposite for me. I think I was better in high school than the AAU because the AAU, I think I was trying not to make too many mistakes. So I was moving like a robot.
Okay.
I was trying to be a perfectionist in front of the college coaches and stuff like that. So I was kind of like a robot. I was trying not to make too many mistakes. I was trying to do the right play instead of just playing freely. So I just feel like that kind of held me back.
But if you could go back, that's one of the things you would tell yourself.
Absolutely. I would just say, in AAU, I would just say build your confidence, play freely, just play the game the right way because that'll help you towards the high school season with the confidence because you can get recruited and you can get your name off in the AAU, and then that can help forward you towards the high school season.
Right, and I believe that. I think that's one of the things. I think that the struggle, kind of comes is from that. It's from trying to get definitely your confidence because I see it. I see it, but it looks like the parents sometimes are more, than the other.
No, for sure. Sometimes you might have some parents, in the stands, trying to coach their kids, and that sometimes, kind of makes the player, kind of second guess himself, now he's thinking, do I listen to my parents or do I listen to my coach? So that kind of puts him in an awkward position right there. So I would say that's a little bit of a problem in AAU, parents coaching from the stands.
Right. But then I go back to I'm not just, it ain't him I'm talking about. I'm going back to your father or just, someone who's heavily invested. How do you can't just stop being invested, you know what I mean?
Sure.
When I talk to her, it would never be around people unless I was really upset. But it wouldn't even be the fact. It's just like you just said. It's not. What your dad knew when you was not doing right. You know what I mean? When he was just there loafing, that ain't got to do with scoring 1,000 points. It was just not giving the effort that I know that he knows that
Sure.
Because like I said, he was going to mean until you start driving, he was going to drive you up there, right? I mean, that's what I would tell her. I mean, it's not the fact of trying to be the most outstanding, but just give your best, right?
Absolutely.
And that's and she don't even know it, but it's times when she did her best that I was more pleased than if she said, because scoring was one of the things that she still has to work on, but it's like when she gave her max effort, and that was more than anything else to me. And also just getting it, and this is what I get into now, this segment, leadership beyond basketball, because I just tell her right now, a lot of the things that I was doing for her, I mean she was struggling at one point, right? And I had to get her away from that. She liked basketball. I didn't really like driving that much anymore, but so what? I'm going to have to suck it up and take her out of here to let her see other things, to help save her life. Let's get it right. Because, going down the wrong road. Leadership in basketball, tell me a little bit about those things. Accountability, discipline, time management. Tell me about that.
So those three aspects right there, they're really, really crucial to an athlete, just staying disciplined, separating yourself, being in the right crowds, not being in the wrong places at the wrong time. And then, just time management. You got to make sure you're in the gym, you got to make sure you're taking care of your body. You got to make sure you're taking care of your books, taking care of your mental, your spirit, all that. So all that, it ties in all into the same thing, just being a leader, just not, you don't have to be the same as everybody else. You can separate yourself. If you really want something, you gotta go chase. You gotta want it. Nobody else can do it for you. You gotta do it for yourself. So I would just say, just being disciplined and structure and time management.
Well, because you went to a couple different schools, was that hard then? even for yourself?
I would say, honestly, my freshman year when I went to New Mexico Military Institute, that was really a vital part of my life because it taught me structure and time management and all that, accountability and all that, So we were on schedule and stuff like that. Every day we did the same thing, with the uniforms. You had to get up, you had to march, you had to do this. It was a basketball school, but you still had to do all these other different features throughout the day. And that just helped me, with the structure, with the time management and all that.
Weird question. Then or now? Did it help you then or now? You understand? Because
honestly, I would say both. At the time, I really kind of didn't understand it, but now, a few years later, that I see that it for sure helped me. But it definitely helped me then. Whenever I was there,
Right.
with just everything, with time management, with my homework, school, getting in the weight room, getting in the gym, and stuff like that. Because we couldn't leave campus there. So we had no choice but to be in the gym or in the books.
Right. So you got any questions?
Yeah. What was your hardest part about being a college athlete?
Hardest part about being a college athlete? There's a few different things, like being away from your family, then, some days your body don't want to go to practice, don't want to do workouts, you don't want to go to class, so you just got to be strong-minded with that, and then the season, it has its ups and downs, you might have some injuries, and then you might try to come back, you down on the depth chart, you got to work your way up, so that might mess with you a little bit mentally and stuff like that. It's just a lot of things, but you need just strong-minded, and just everything else will take care of itself.
Couple of quick questions before we move on from this one. You don't have to answer. Favorite coach?
My favorite coach? That's a good question. I would have to say probably Coach Schooley from New Mexico Military Institute or Coach Newsom, my AU coach from North Virginia Reign. I would say those two for sure because, it's been 5-10 years later, they still reach out to me, once a month, or throughout each year, so I just feel like that means a lot, the relationship part, they're real close with my family, they ask about my family, they ask about my kids, so that it just means a lot to me.
Right,
sure.
Right. Toughest lesson learned?
Toughest lesson learned. You're never bigger than the program. Your talent can take you so far, but you gotta have the work ethic and the right mindset and the right attitude, to get there.
See, and I think that's tough for high school, right? Because, and not saying they do, but you know how it is sometimes, especially locally, And I just saw it not too long ago. There were some kids, that, average a lot of points, and then they get in this All-Star game, they can't even score. That's probably hard for them to, kind of get, that's just a glimpse of it, to imagine, how it will be, and it is, like you said, for building yourself back up. A lot of different things, weight, a lot of different things like that. Blue chip helped with those things as well prior to this, right? But you have to be able to listen to them, right? Because let's get it right, not being funny, but you are the pros, right? Let's get it right. So and I'm not saying in a bad way, but I'm saying we need to listen as parent and as athlete. To steer you in the right direction, but sometimes it's not what I want to hear. Tell me how you handle that if you got to tell me.
So I would just say experience is the best teacher. That's what I always, that's what the old head always told me. So that's what I always go by. So I would just say, just you really can't learn that unless you go through it. So just in all aspects of life, throughout the season, you might get injured and you might go down the depth chart. How you gonna bounce back from that? A coach, he might not like you. He might be pushing you. You might not like how you gonna bounce back from that. So it really just depends on how you gonna bounce back from things.
Tell me this. This might not be only a blue chip question, but it is something you just said about injury, right? Were you injured in college or something?
Yes, sir. So I suffered a few injuries in college. So that kind of messes with your mental. It messes with your body. So it just messes with everything. So it really just how you gonna bounce back from it? You gonna give up, or you gonna go 10 times harder?
One of the things that it just came about, right? Tomorrow, she's gonna have surgery, right, on her shoulder. So she hasn't really started yet. She's not, but bouncing back off of that because now you're kind of under the 8 ball, right? Haven't started yet because you already said the first 2 weeks was tough as a freshman. Take her out of it. What are you telling an athlete about that as blue chips? What are you telling an athlete that number one now is hurt, but 2 is coming in as a freshman?
So
Tell me a little bit
coming as a freshman, it's gonna be a big wake up call because they're gonna try to break you, with the conditioning, the workouts, the practices. So in high school you might be the best player, but then when you get to college, you were on a team where everybody they were the best players on the high school. So you at the bottom of the totem pole. So what you gonna do to separate yourself? So you just gotta work hard. You gotta stay in the weight room. You gotta stay in the gym. You gotta stay in the books. You just can't get down. You just gotta separate yourself because you never know when your time is gonna come. It might not be in August, September, in the preseason. Your time might come in March. So you just gotta stay down till you come up.